All right, it's right at time. I see other people are still coming in, but we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone again for joining another ng-conf webinar. My name is Q, and I'm the host today, and I'm joined today by the Infragistics team. Again, I'm always excited to have these guys around. I need a new shirt. Normally, I have an Infragistics shirt or an app builder shirt, but I'm on vacation and I don't have one today. Today, though, we have Konstantin and Zdravko. I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment, but like all other ng-conf events, this webinar follows the same code of conduct as an in-person event. I will post the code of conduct in the chat. Feel free to look over that if you have any questions. In short, be nice, be respectful in the chat. Uh, these guys are going to have Q&A at the end, so if you do have a question, just kind of you can send it into the chat in the Q&A, but they won't get to it until at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to these guys to get started.
Thank you, Q. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad to have you with us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're at. So just going to quickly share my screen. Now, we're going to talk today a lot about Angular, about generating code, about a low-code solution that does that. So we're not going to spend too much time in slides. I'm just going to kick it off with some high-level explanation of what we're going to show you and what the tool we are using is going to be. My name is Konstantin Dinev. I'm Director of Product Development. Today with me is, go ahead, Zdravko.
Yeah, thank you, Konstantin. Hey, everyone. I'm Zdravko Kolev. I'm a product development manager at Infragistics, where we focus on building tools like App Builder, which is a low-code platform that accelerates web development. And today, I'm very excited to show you how App Builder actually transforms the Angular app development. So that would be from me.
Yeah.
Back to you, Konstantin.
Moving on. Thank you, Zdravko. Zdravko is actually going to be the main guy today. I'm just the slides guy and maybe, do work at the end. But what he's going to do is he's going to show you this App Builder platform. You may have seen it before in other webinars. You may actually be using this. So that's why I'm not going to be spending too much time on those slides. But for the ones who hear of this tool or see it for the first time, I'm just going to quickly go over it. So App Builder is a low-code code generation tool. Its primary purpose is to actually reduce development time for applications. It increases productivity and efficiency. It actually simplifies proof of concepts significantly, more than 85%. That's actually what we're going to show you today. So let's talk a little bit about the history of this tool. We started this project sometime in 2019. Actually, it was conceived earlier, but active development started happening in 2019. And we released an initial version in 2020. And that was a basic, I wouldn't say basic. It was a WYSIWYG screen builder. It didn't have that many features, but it was good at taking, a sketch design, turning it into a web layout, and generating pixel-perfect code on top of this design using components. Now, over time, in 2021, for example, we added a lot of data capabilities to it. So we started supporting OpenAPI, and you could add OpenAPI definitions directly in the tool so that you can bind UIs to your own data or to your own mock data, even if that's what you want. 2022 we continued enhancing the App Builder platform. We added more code generation targets. So initially, we generated only Angular. Afterwards, we added things like Blazor, native web components. And we ourselves switched from Sketch to Figma. And so our design system was UIKit first in Sketch and then transferred to Figma at that time. We switched to fully being led by Figma. And Sketch is secondary to us after 2022, even though we still support it. We added a lot of new components to the platform. We added support for a lot of our existing components that didn't yet exist in the toolbox of the App Builder. Now, in 2023, we continued diving deep into this platform. So we added CRUD support directly through the platform. We added support for code generation in React, state and context binding, variables support, and a lot of complex grid features were exposed through the tool. And then 2024 for us is about actually creating an embeddable SDK out of the app builder so that it's distributed and other people can use it to embed the experience of the low-code app builder and also the previews directly into their own applications. And then, that's not the only thing that we did this year. So we continue diving deep into the features. But if you have not seen what App Builder is so far, it's actually a complete end-to-end solution. So we have a design system, we have components, we have an agnostic application model, which describes applications, but not in a specific framework or a specific target. It describes them agnostically in terms of views, relationships between those views, in terms of what constructs the views, but not so much in terms of specific components that build them. Then the tool itself, it supports a lot of things that you can do through the interface, like changing theming and branding, doing the data access, as I mentioned, with the open API definitions, creating views and forms, state and context binding. That was huge for us last year, and we continue enhancing this feature. In Figma, for example, this is called a variables feature. Ours is a little bit more powerful than that, but we're going to show in the demo a little bit later. Enhancing the toolbox, continuing to enhance routing and navigation, things that are specific to the web applications. We have integrations for data access. We have extensibility for the toolbox so that you can add external components. We have other integrations, like GitHub integration, for example. The next layer, it's the code generation, okay? So you're building an app with a tool, but at the end of the day, you need to get code out of it. You need to get a repository and to continue working with that repository to add, business logic that you need that you cannot incorporate through the tool. And then at the end of the day, you have to end up in a deployment state, right? So you've generated the Git repository, you need to give you a script to actually run a deployment against, let's say, Azure or AWS, or give you the zip so you can download and actually execute the deployment on your own premises. All right, now I'm going to dive just a little bit into the individual parts that drive this whole platform, and then we're going to move on to the actual nice part, which is the demo that primarily Zdravko is going to do. So I mentioned we have a design system. That design system drives UI kits, and the primary UI kit that we have is Figma. Sketch is also supported alongside Figma. We even had an Adobe XD UI kit, but that's dead, so I'm no longer mentioning it. It's still on my slide because I've had it here for a while. But UI kits and design system drive the components, right? Because of this design system, we're able to support multiple platforms like Angular, like React, native web components, and even Blazor. And still, we can have different components for all of those, but when they follow the same design system, they have the same patterns, they have the same API, they have the same look and feel. And so you can build against different frameworks or the framework of choice or the library of choice without having to completely switch and use something else. Now, I said the core of the app builder is the common application model. This, once again, describes applications in an agnostic manner. This allows us to actually generate against multiple targets. So we started and build an app in Angular at the moment, and that's what Zdravko is going to be showing. But at the end of the presentation, if you want, on the fly with a drop-down, with a change of a drop-down item, I can switch the target to native web components and start generating against that. I can actually even have the two in parallel because of the common application model. The app builder itself is a WYSIWYG design surface. It's, some call this a visual programming paradigm. There isn't like a unified concept. The WYSIWYG is maybe the unified concept, but it's basically a drag and drop. It's like any other design tool, like Figma, where you can put together UIs, but unlike Figma, the result is actually a web application. It's not a vector or raster design. It's a real web application that you're running. And afterwards, from the app builder, we get code generation. And all of these apps that we build through this tool, through this platform, we can get as an output in the form of a full repository, which then we can take away and actually continue developing separately, or we can still keep kind of in sync. We cannot bring code back into the app builder because of some security concerns that we've had over time. But what you can do is, for example, if you use the GitHub integration that we have, you can continue developing your business logic within the code and the app UI within App Builder, and App Builder is actually going to do pull requests for you. And if it's separated, if it's business logic, there are not going to be any conflicts. But if there are, the pull request is going to give you conflict resolution that you can do, in, let's say, Visual Studio Code. Okay. Underneath for the code gen, I can talk in specific, but we use the Angular CLI, which we extend with the Ignite UI CLI. That's to generate the repository for Angular, and then our own service to generate, views, services, pipes, anything that is more complex and actually doesn't need to be just a placeholder. So the data integrations, at the moment, it's primarily OpenAPI. So we consume the OpenAPI definition. We actually show you all of the endpoints. We show you all of the entities, and you can use them directly through the UI of the app builder to bind UI. And having that and state and context binding, or what we call state and context binding, you can actually even create data flows within the app builder without having to code them. And we're gonna show that in detail, right? Theming and branding. This is always a very important aspect of any tool like this, okay? And of any component set. So whenever we build an application, if we use a reusable component suite, it kind of looks the same. Like, we start with these components, they look the same in every application that we build. But we have extensible theming engine, which allows you to actually override significantly the look and feel of applications. Now, you cannot override core behaviors. Like, for example, when I click a drop down, it drops down and not up with the theming. You can do that through configuration, but you can override the look and feel. And even though our primary theme is material-based, we also support presets for Fluent, for Bootstrap, for our own Indigo preset. And, we support even the definition of new schemas, new presets that you can do. And, just the regular things like color palettes, typography, shape, elevations, and display density, all of those are covered within our theming engine. But now, as I said, enough presentation. Let's look at this tool, right? I mean, I'm showing beautiful pictures, but let's see if it can do anything. And so for this purpose, me and Zdravko have decided as a side job to actually create a toy store. Sorry, Jason, we're doing this on the side, but and for us to do a toy store, we would need to spend a lot of time, right? Even to get to something that we can show to customers. But let's see if we can actually execute the proof of concept phase within the time scope of this webinar. And we're going to start from scratch. But in order for us to start, we need to define some requirements, right? Because we need to accomplish something. So Zdravko, are you ready for this?
Go ahead. I am.
All right. So here are the requirements for our toy store. So we want users to be able to browse toys by age groups. And those would be infants, not so infants, somewhat grown-ups, and then more grown-up. What were the categories? 0 to 12, 1 to 3,
3 to 5, and 5 plus.
5 and 5 plus, yeah. Okay.
5 plus being board games, by the way, which is challenging for a 5-year
yeah,
kid,
I was going to say that. They're a little bit young.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on the board game. All right.
It depends, yeah.
Right. Yeah, users in our toy store should be able to select a toy and see the details for that toy. Users should be able to select a toy to purchase. users should be able to search for specific toys. And then we would want something more niche. We want a back office, right? So we can add new toys, edit existing toys, remove toys that we no longer have in our inventory. And as a final requirement, as I said, UI needs to be specific to our target users. So we want it to be appealing to kids. Okay. Zdravko, do you think we are able to do this?
Yes, I do.
All right. Well, then I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to give you the floor.
Okay, perfect. Let me just try this. Share. Let me know when you see my screen.
I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to stress out on something that Konstantin said. That is the whole purpose of App Builder, of this low-code tool, is actually to help you do more things than you typically hand code, so to say. And the real kicker in the App Builder is that everything you do, you are able to actually generate as code, a well-structured and functional code. So from where we do start this journey, let's get right into it. We do have an App Builder dev page where you can actually go now, and you can access a guest access mode, which is something we did a couple of months ago in order to shorten the path that a user can get from actually having an idea and start building it. Because now, even that you don't provide us with your emails and you register to the App Builder, you can actually lay hands on the App Builder core functionalities and pillars, like start building stuff. And when you are at the point of actually do something more, like using the AI, adding a more rich data source and so on, then you will need to actually start a trial or something else. But until that point, you have your evaluation. You will know how beneficial the App Builder actually is. So you can go ahead and right away go into the access to the guest mode. What I'm actually going to do, and is going to be to access the actual domain of the platform itself, which is my App Builder dev. And here is the interesting part that Konstantin actually said about. We're not going to do a plain application like only for myself or for himself. We are going to start with a group workspace, which is something that defines the collaboration story that we have in the App Builder. So let's name it ng-conf demo. This is going to be the shared workspace. Or even better, I already have an existing workspace that we pre-set up with Konstantin, and he already have access to it. So I'm going to just shorten the path of like showing you how to add members. The UI is very intuitive, so you will get used to it. We do have an application already here, but I'm going to start a new one from scratch. And this is where I want to point out something. I will be doing this gradually, step by step, so you know what the moving parts of the App Builder are. I won't go through explaining you each compound of the App Builder itself, but you will actually see each of them in action. So I'm starting with the first page, which is create an application. Here we have sample apps, templates, or you can import your own design. I'm heading over to the templates because this is something that we've spent a lot of time on, like doing a research, what the application templates that we want to use are. For example, header navigation with content and side pane, side-by-side navigation, something with a navbar, and my personal favorite, which is this one, navigation with centered content and a footer. So I'm heading over to using that template. And from here, we actually start with a predefined application. It has a layout. It has everything that I need in order to kick off my development of the prototype or the idea for an app that I have. In our case, we have the requirements. It's a toy store. So something that I want to do right away, I want to expand this to be 80% of the whole view. And here we have the component toolbox on the left. We have a properties panel on the right, and the actual essence of the App Builder, which is the canvas, the place where you actually draw your ideas. Draw, so to say, drag and drop. So let me start with this. What do we need in order to have a toy store? We need to have some way to place a category and list each of the toys based on the category that we have. I'm going to remove these elements that are already part of the page. And here, as you can see, actually, we do have something very interesting as Control E is the way that you can use and shorten the way you access components in App Builder. So from here, I want to actually add a column layout, or even better, let me show you the layouts that we already have predefined. I'm going to pick one. This is side-by-side navigation. Here I'm going to add a button group, and I'm going to add a card. So now I'm laying out the prototype of my application. I have the navigation, I have the sticky bar, and I have the content that I want to be dynamic upon picking something else to load based on that action. So in order to do this, you will need some data. After all, App Builder is based on data, and this is the pillar of it, actually you working with data. So the common scenario that I have just explained to you, having a side-by-side navigation and actually using the master detail concept, which is something that we see daily. I mean, Gmail, Facebook, everything is having this main pane when you do something, and on the side, something that is loaded based on the action that you picked. So what would be our action? It will be based on data. But looking at the data sources on the side pane here, because we have data sources, components, views, I don't see something that will make sense for me. Northwind API, travel app, financial app. There is nothing about toys category or whatever. And here is the feature that I want to show you, and it's been available for a while in App Builder, and this is the AI generation that we provide. We provide you a way to use an AI to generate images and to generate data. So, what type of data can I generate? Let's see. Give me an array of toy categories with unique ID, name, category ID. What else do we need? Description. So let's try this out. You have remaining tokens. We enable you to actually have 20 credits in order to test out the AI that are running out on each request that you do. So we do have some toy categories that we can use. As this is actually mock data that I want to use in order to kickstart my application, I will be happy with it. I won't make other iterations, and I will add this as a new data source to the existing data source that I have. But what else would I need is actually an array of toys. The toys that we are going to use for our card component in order to represent it there. Give me an array. What would be the structure that we need? We need a field ID, again, name and the actual category ID.
Jaco, by the way, you just generated the toys first. I think you need
actually, yeah, I have my prompt. Yeah. Let me just then say, give me the array of toy categories, because the actual categories will give me a unique with unique ID, name, and category description probably. So let's see that one. Ooh, this is a very rich description. So I'm adding this one as well, and I'm actually going to use my predefined prompt in order to generate the actual fields for the toys array. Let's say up to 50, because I want more. Going for the win here, something richer. I'm running out of credits. Hopefully the team will regenerate them for me. And there is probably a problem with this one. Either way, I already have my toys already prepared, and this is where I'm heading to. I'm going to actually use the button group component in order to generate the category fields that I want. And here is where the properties panel comes in. What we do see here is the repeat mode, which points me to, what does that mean? Data mode. Let's see. I have a data that I can provide to my data sources. So let's see. Was the data under my API? it looks like my request didn't made it with the AI generation. Let me just refresh for a bit. Action figures, perfect. Now I see them. So going for the action figures, what do we say? What do we have here? Toys and categories. This is what I need. I need the categories actually. We see the count out of 5, which is showing a way of how many items you could have. And here I have a binding context. So this is actually the content that I'm going to specify for the actual button and the text inside it. What I do want to show here is actually the categories. Let me show category ID probably. How many do we have? We have 4 of them. Let me just check something out. Actually, we do have more of them. So I would want to actually use the existing categories in order to ease the understanding of how the binding works. So I will just head over to the Swagger API that we have prepared for that purpose, which is the Toy Store API that Konstantin talked about. And here we do have a bunch of endpoints like get endpoints and delete, put, and post, which are going to show off as part of the editing and updating a toy. Here we do have a list of categories which are returned through that endpoint. And how we actually incorporate this, how we do integrate this Swagger functionality within the app builder is by pointing out a new data source, which is REST API based. New data source for ng-conf demo. This is going to be my name of the data source. And here I provide the Swagger JSON, which is this one. Let's see what do we have. We have all the endpoints that I just showed you. And this is like a Swagger UI representation of the schema that is produced by the web API. Here we can actually test out what the actual request is doing. We can make a request to the categories themselves, and a result will be returned with the actual results. What are the categories? What is the schema of them? And so on. Similar to the one that we have here. So for example, if I execute this one, here we see all the ID, name, description. Here are the categories that Konstantin showed off. And here it is. We see the same JSON. So I'm selecting this. And here I'm going to bind directly to the data source that I have just added based on the categories that I have and just bind them to the description itself in order to better see the category names, which is this one. So what about the cards? The cards is something that I want to represent all available toys. This is where the beauty of the app builder comes in, because once the data source is added, now you have access to the to all endpoints, and you can do whatever you want with them. And each of the components is having the way to actually bind to data. So, for example, we are already familiar with the binding options for the button group. Now, if we move to a cart, we can do the same thing. There is a data mode from where I can actually go ahead and pick the actual toys service, which is going to return me all toys. So what do we have so far? We have built our application. We have a layout. We have something like the representation of data, but we are not there yet. We are not ready with the application itself. What I actually want to do is to polish the layout of things. So what do we support in App Builder? We support flex layout and grid layout. In the purposes of the demo, I'm going to use a flex layout. So currently I have a column layout, which is a column representation of the data inside. What I'm going to do actually is I'm going to swap it to a row layout, and I would want to set some gap to the elements that are inside of it. So imagine that this is the card, and we are binding its title to show the toy name, and the subtitle, which is an inner element, to actually show the ID of the toy. So if you go to preview, which is the other pillar of the app builder, preview, whatever you build this is actually the running environment. You can see your app running. All the buttons are clickable. All the layout is also interactable. It's responsive, as we can see. Everything is in place. And here I do have a scroll bar, which I don't like. So how I'm going to fix this? I'm heading to the row layout, and I'm going to say, okay, please make an overflow auto and wrap it. So basically, what I did is now I'm having this row layout of the of all available toys, and I can continue polishing out my view. So here, for example, I can add a new row layout that is going to show me the actual price of each of the toys. So I'm going to add two headings. I'm going to add a map of 5 pixels. This one will be saying price, and this one will be binded to the data context that is provided by the data collection representing the cards itself. So I know the data context is about the toys, and the schema that we use is the toy model for each of the cards. So I will say, okay, show me the price of each toy. And what we do have so far, we have a nicely built layout with kind of functional data, because it actually represents the toy store, how it will look at the end. And looking at it, yeah, each of the price is different. We have the categories, but nothing more. I'm going to make some final change about this. I'm going to remove this layout because I don't want to show it. Here I want to change my cool application. And I want to add something before we actually move on to the breaking point so far, so to say, for the app builder. Because so far, what we can do is publish this out. And I'm going to publish it now because this is something that Konstantin should access in a bit. ng-conf demo, the real one. Now I'm creating a repository. This is one of the integrations that Konstantin mentioned. So I'm using my GitHub profile, the credentials, in order to push this to our Ignite UI repository. By the way, these links were going to be provided to you after the webinar. Check out our repository. We're very active on GitHub. We have constant discussions. We're very active on the actual pull requests that we do, issues, everything that you can submit there is available. And this is the actual repository. As you can see, the code is already here. And because this is an Angular conference, it's been like 30 minutes so far. Let's just show some Angular code. What do we have so far? We have our source, we have our app, we have some services about the data that we just bound to. It's an observable. You can see to the endpoints that we use. We have our views, and we do have routing. Perfect. So far, this has been something that we can achieve with the Angular CLI itself. I mean, just bootstrapping an application very quick. But this is the turning point of the app builder, defining data flow through user interactions. Or with other words, we are using data in a meaningful way. All of us should agree that how users interact, like trigger changes in the data within the app, is crucial for the app being dynamic and the app being interactive. So what we are going to do now, once the application is pushed, we are going to actually make it dynamic. How we are going to do that? Konstantin gave a hint with the Figma and the way they handle variables. Our approach is a bit different, and I believe very interesting. We do use variables as well. Variables help us to actually persist the state of something and use it later on within your application. We have 3 types of variables: global, local, and route param. So what I'm going to actually use now is this. I want something to happen on a button click. Heading over to the properties panel. Perfect. Interactions. What can I do with these interactions? I see that on click, I have a bunch of actions. I can navigate to something, show something, open, close it, run a component action, and I can actually set a variable. What type of a variable I can set? before that, let's just say, okay, what the value of the variable would be. I still have the context for each of the toys, and I would want to get the category ID of each of the buttons. So what the variable will be like, it will be storing the category ID. Category ID. It's a number. I'm creating a local variable because this is the only view that is going to be using it. I'm going to go to the pull request here because I'm preparing something for you. Now that I have the variable, I can actually go to the card collections here, and what we can say is, okay, we know the cards are fed from an endpoint. This endpoint is returning all the toys, but what we do actually know is that the toys by category ID endpoint is expecting an optional category. If it's not provided, it's going to return you all the category, all the toys, sorry. But for now, what we actually want to do is we want to get over to the toys and actually say, give me the toys by category ID. And here we are specifying as a query parameter the category ID itself, which we have from the button group that we just set. Here I will need to rebind everything from the name, from the ID itself. I'm heading for the price as well. And what we will get now is for the first category, we get all the toys from 0 to 12 months. For the second one, we will get all from 1 to 3 years and see how the cards are actually updated and are showing a specific toys. Here is the toy that we talked about, the board game. And this is the breaking point that we're introducing here. I mean, this is where it's not that easy to set up that part, like being able to bind your data very quickly and create your variables and so on. But we created it in like 2 minutes. And from here, what I can do in order to show you the actual difference, we can publish this change and we can say, okay, we are adding variables now. And upon publishing it, this is the beauty of the GitHub API that we are using. We're going to actually make a real pull request to the repository that was just created. And this is a pull request that can be reviewed by someone. We're heading to the pull request, adding variables, great. And here we can see all the code that we added in order to achieve this. It's part of the services. And it's also a part of the actual view where we have added all of this. Here you can see the actual variables, the events, everything that is needed in order to make that working. So let's see, where are we? The cards are updated, the category is working. Let's just extend this for a bit, because I have shared with you, we have a bunch of variables. One of them is very interesting, by the way, and I want to very quickly show you how you can actually load another page based on a picked value that you get from a card. So what do I mean? We do have another view, and this view is an empty one currently. But what we can do, we can pick a layout, and we can say here, I would want to load a bunch of input elements. I'm going to add them very quickly. And here I'm going to add again the gap. Once you're used to building your app, it's going to be very easy for you to actually set it up. You can select all components at once. You can shrink them. You can change the position, everything. I want the horizontal line to be centered, for example, here. Here I'm going to add a button, and this button, I would want to actually have an icon. And this icon, because we have an icon set, this icon I want to point to a back action. This back action would be going as an interaction, navigating to the master view, view 1. What is view 1? View 1 is our toys. View 2 is going to be toy details. Here it is. And the detail that we're going to load is actually the parameter that we need to pass, which is the toy ID. So do you see how we have a route param here as part of the sections? This is where we can say, okay, this is going to be a toy ID, which is actually going to be a number. For the sake of the demo, I will just set a default value in order to just not fall back to mock, because we do have a variety of mechanics in our builder which are handling errors. Like, imagine if there is a request, is an endpoint that is not returning you anything, 404. We don't want for you to see a lot of errors in the app builder. We try to manage this and we fall back to mock in order to just ease the whole process of setting things. So we have set our variable, which is the route parameter. And when I head over to the toy section, you can see here that the show detail, which is navigating to a new action, and you're picking to actually load a toy detail. Here we have an indicator. Something should be provided in order the route param to be working. And this something is the actual toy ID. From where we're going to get the toy ID? Again, from the context itself. See how we're limiting you to actually pick something that doesn't make sense, like a string, when the route param is expected to be a number. And now we are done with this. We're heading over to our preview in order to see our app running. I'm filtering by this group, and I want to show the details for the action figure. Great. You see here, we do have the route param, but the page is not loading anything. Why? Because we haven't bound it to anything. But in order to bind it to anything, we need to provide a context. Perfect. We pass the toy ID to the view. But what we should do after this point? We should actually initialize a variable that is going to load the toy itself. How we're going to do this? We have an option, initialize from a data endpoint. And again, heading over to the endpoint itself, what do we have is we can get a toy by ID. Again, we have an indicator, something should be provided here. What should that be? A parameter for the ID of the toy. And here we specify the toy ID. Done, create, and here it is. Now we do have a context within this view that we can use. I actually want these, all of them, to be disabled because I want to only show data. So making them disabled and now binding them. So I'm going to pick the value from the initialized toy. One is going to be for the name, the other one for the category ID, and the last one is going to show the actual price. We can be clever and just play around with the actual component properties, like setting different labels that are giving more context of the actual binding options. So I'm going to just very quickly set them like this. And now that we have our context, and now that we have everything pre-built, if I head over and say, okay, I want to see the Crip mobile details, upon going to this and using our routing, we can actually see all of the details of this particular toy. We can go back and that would be it. Very quickly checking up where are we with the requirements. So far we have, where is my presentation? So far we have enabled browsing of the toys per group, selecting a toy they like to see details done. User should be able to choose a toy for purchase. Perfect. How we are going to do that is we have different interactions. So we have in the actual cart, we provide predefined templates that one can use in order to ease the development of the cart layout. We have a particular layout for this one, which I very much like, which is the default one. And actually, what I'm going to do now is to use the predefined actions in order to show you something. I have a like button, a heart button. And here I would actually want to say, okay, navigate me, open something for me. What we can open, we do have a snack bar and a toast in the component library that we expose with the Ignite UI. We call it snack bar. Probably you're familiar with it as an element. So I'm going to go for the snack bar. And here you can see, again, we have all the listed properties within the properties panel. For a message, I would say, added to favorites. As an action, I would want this to close, and upon auto hiding, I want to be for 1 second. On click, the snack bar will be closed. So now I'm emulating a way for you to actually point out a notification upon some action that you can actually extend on after you generate your application. As Konstantin said in the beginning, we strive to provide you as much code as we can, which is production ready and well structured, but this is the 80-20 rule. We provide you 80% of the code, but the last 20% that are actually related to the context that you want to use your application or the problem that you're trying to solve with it should come from you. So we provide you with the means, and from now we actually can extend your app. And now if you can, if we go over to the application that we have, upon clicking this, nothing will happen. Why? Because we haven't added it as an action. So upon clicking on the hard button, I actually want to open, I want to open or close a snack bar. This is the snack bar that we just created. And here is going to give you an indication, perfect, something has been added to the favorites list that you have. I believe there is one last part that we need to cover in order to have a fully functional app, which is being able to showcase our two-way binding, because the Angular community likes the methodologies and concepts that the Angular has. By the way, I'm going to very quickly set this and just go through the actual code, and we can make another PR in order to store our changes. So far we have a master detail, we have a view for the toys, we have a view for the toy details. And here actually, what we can do is we can add a search view, which is going to actually provide me with a way to type in information. This is going to be an input again, which is going to be centered. Let me go here, centered. Is going to say search, perfect. And from here, I would want to actually, again, add a collection of cards. These cards are going to be bound to the data request. What would be the data request then? Get toy by name. What is this get toy by name? We fall back to mock because it's expecting a name parameter. This is going to be, let's look at our Swagger. Actually, we can look through the Swagger from here. Here it is. It expects a query param. It's not, if it's not provided, it won't give us anything. So if we actually go for this and set up our input to actually have a value which is accepted from the runnable application, we can do the following. Bind this value to a new variable, which is going to be toy name. It's a string. We know it's a string, so I'm creating this variable. And this variable is going to be fed by the typed in characters within the input itself. And do you see this one? Do you see this option, which is saying use two-way data binding? Enable this option to keep the values of the input and the bound variables always in sync. This is what we need actually, because now, upon making a request, I would want the request always to be against the toy name. And for example, if I go to the variable itself and I set an initial value, for example, toy. Each of the toys probably is having toy as part of the name itself. Heading over to the row layout here, I want to actually wrap the content. Everything should be bound again. I have a title of the name, and here I'm going to show the ID of it. What I can do now, I can hide the content in the actions because I don't kind of need them now. Very interesting crop here. Let me just add a gap in order to make it more beautiful. Adding a gap. And now if I head over to the actual view, I can say, okay, perfect. Give me every toy that has a phone, toy phone. Perfect. Board game. I have a board game. I have a skateboard. Perfect. Now we are actually searching through the available cards. Let me go here and just head over again to the two-way binding. This is actually how the two-way binding is working in Angular. Whenever you provide something, it picks it up from the model itself, and you made a request to it. So if I now go to the main view, heading over to the views, to the master view, here we can add different elements. Like for this icon, we can say, okay, show me a dialog of it. For this icon is going to be the card details. This one is something that I will just change the gear here, because Konstantin is going to show in a bit what the actual grid can do. And the card one, I actually want to be pointing to the search view that I have just added. So again, interaction, navigate to, pick a view, search. And now, upon starting my journey from here, categorizing, viewing details, getting back to the application itself, searching through categories, I can actually make everything working within like 15 minutes. So let me just publish this, because I want to persist my changes. I think we are going to actually name it as adding more views, something general. Where are we with our requirements? User should be able to search for a specific toy. Perfect. We have it. Let me head over to AppBuilder. Do we have a pull request? Yes, we do. Konstantin already approved it, Ivan. We have 2 commits. One of them was 15 minutes ago. The other one is now. You can see all the changes. We can actually open only the commits that are here, but you won't see anything new, rather than adding a bunch of views, updating the service that we have, applying a routing because we have added a new view, and a few deletions. But while looking at this through GitHub, let's just go ahead here and see it through the code view that we expose in the app builder. What we have now is the actual main page. This is the main view. What we can see here is the actual TypeScript file, and here you can see the HTML. And something that you might be interested in seeing is the actual component flow that was exposed in the last release, and basically we quickly incorporated it within the app builder, and it gives you a better perspective and like fluency of by reading the template itself. This is already in, and something that we have added at the beginning of the year is actually Jason and George presented on the last webinar, which was on April, I believe. We give you the option to actually pick your target framework. You can pick from Angular and the other ones, but we are interested in Angular for now. You can pick an Angular standalone components project type, or a project that is using Angular models, and everything is simultaneously. I mean, you can just change it from here, push your new code, and voila. We're going to stay with the standalone components now. And actually, I'm going to wrap up with this. App Builder helped us to build something working and functional very quickly. It was easy. The layout is great. The functionality is perfect. We have the code for it. It's available for anyone to see it and add on top of it. And this is what I am actually giving to Konstantin now. He can pick it up from here and take it away.
Thank you, Zdravko. I mean, you did a lot of work for, 40 minutes? But we're not done yet. I mean, we still have requirements that we have not covered, right? So let me see if I will be able to actually fill all of the gaps. in the remaining, what is it, 5 or 6 minutes.
Mm.
So I'm going to take your screen share now.
Okay.
And should be able to see my screen now. Okay. And the good thing about App Builder is, as Rafko already mentioned, we have group workspaces. I'm in the same workspace as Rafko. I already did some collaboration with him on the GitHub repository. But now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to collaborate on top of the actual application. And we don't have concurrency feature yet. And Zdravko is currently still editing the view. I will ask him to actually exit that view so I can take over and actually complete what we're working on. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit today. So if I sound groggy or anything like that, it's what it is. All right, so the last two requirements were we wanted to create a back office for this application, so something like an admin page. So what I'm going to do is add a new view. I'm going to call it admin. All right, and we wanted to change the look and feel. And as I said, I have 4 minutes. I had 6 minutes. I talked for 2, and I have 4 minutes left. So right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a grid component. Okay, and this is for our back office. This grid currently is bound to dummy data, but Zdravko already brought a data source into this workspace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the toys from the workspace. I'm picking the all toys endpoint. And here it is. I see the grid populated with all of the toys that come back from the endpoint. And I'm going to add some features to this grid because in my back office, I want to be able to group toys by their categories. I want to add a toolbar which says, admin panel. And I want to add, what else do I need? I want to page the data. I don't want to see it all on one page. And then the default configuration would be 15 toys per page. Okay. So what did I create? I created a small view which acts as my back office. I can, look at the toys by categories. And so far, so good, but I still cannot do anything about editing my toys or adding new toys or removing toys from our inventory. So let's do something here. I'm going to add in interactions which are specific to the grid. And so I'm going to start with row added interaction. And this one is actually a data action. And it requires an endpoint. And it filters my endpoints by post. Okay? And so I have a create toy endpoint. I'm going to add another one. This one is going to be row edited. Again, it's a data action. And row edited, it shows me posts and puts. So I'm going to pick the put endpoint that I have in my data source here. I'm going to add one more, which is for the row deleted. And for this one, it gives me delete, also post. People use post for a lot of things, and they shouldn't. Okay, so I'm binding these. And now what I have is a grid with actions on top of the toys that I have. So again, I'm going to group them. And so in the first category, have a baby rattle. And the baby rattle, I don't want it anymore. So I'm getting rid of it. And I'm going to turn on live editing. So I'm going to commit directly to that endpoint. I'm not going to use mock requests that actually don't get executed. So I'm turning live editing, and I deleted that toy. And so the soft plush toy, I want to change that one and call it just plush toy. And by the way, I want to move it into another category. I'm going to move it to category 2. But how do I know those categories? Like, those IDs are just numbers. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to the column, and on the column, excuse me, on the column, I want to change the template. And here under custom templates, I have a header template, a cell display template, and a cell edit template. So I'm going to go to the cell edit template, and I'm going to remove this editor. And what I'm going to, oh, sorry, I removed the cell edit template. What I'm going to put here is a radio button group. Okay. And that radio button group, instead of static radio buttons, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind them to data, then those button groups. And that data is actually going to be repeated over the categories that are coming from my toys. Okay. And so now for my categories, what I'm going to do is I want to say the value of the button group is the ID of the category, and the label is the name of the category. Okay. Now I have one more item that I need to do. On the button group, I'm going to bind the actual value for the radio group to the category ID that is coming from the specific record. Going back, so now I have toys by categories, and this one is of category toddler, but I want to change it to infant and click done. And you see, I'm getting displayed radio buttons instead of just numbers for the categories. I have the back office now. I can edit, I can delete, I can add. And one final thing that I want to do is I actually want to change the look and feel of this application to make it more kid-friendly, right? So I want the UI to look like a UI for a kid store. So I'm going to duplicate the current theme. I'm going to call it ng-conf demo. And I'm going to do some changes. So for the colors, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick some colors which are more kid colors, right? Like a pink and something like a baby blue. Okay, I'm picking values that I have on the side here. But now the colors were more kids friendly, but I also want to change the font. And I have this font, which I think looks really good for kids, called Boogaloo. And the roundness of my UI, I want it to be more rounded, right? So not extremely, but something in the middle. And then for elevations, I want things to be elevated. So more shadows, right? So I'm clicking save here, and let's see what happens. Ooh, my app actually looks different now. Nice. Have more rounded. The font is different. The colors are different. You know, the pink is now nice. But I want to do one final thing, and that is I want to change the surface color to be something between orange and pink. So let's go this way. So something like this, okay? And then I'm going to click update. That's too dark. I want it lighter. So I'll go this way, and now it should be better. And voila, the look and feel changed completely. And that's how powerful the theming engine is. Let's just quickly pull request my changes to the repository that Zdravko did, and I hit publish. And by the way, let's see just how much work. I'm not logged into this one. Okay, anyways. Let's see just how much work the changing of the theme is. So as I said, we have a very powerful theming engine, but this theme change that I did requires just this much code. I changed the font family. So the link here refreshed. I'm no longer importing Titanium Web. And I was using a default material light schema with the light theming preset for material. Now that changed to a custom palette with a custom with a preset with a roundness of 0.5. And the palette is with the 3 colors that I provided. And that's it. That's everything that was needed for the look and feel of the application to change. And the other thing is here that typography now uses the font Boogaloo. That's it. And by the way, we're done. We have our application. We completed all of the requirements, and we're just 5 minutes over time. So at this point, I'm going to switch back to the presentation. And I think I should actually share the other screen now. Hold on. Yeah, it's this one. And yeah, that's it. We have some links for you here. So we have the app builder link. You can go to our YouTube channel. We have a lot of videos walking through different features of the app builder and how you can, easily get your hands on them and use them for your most productive experience with app builder. There's a Discord link. We have a very active Discord server where all of our team is on. And, you can go to our GitHub and you can give us a star on the Ignite UI for Angular repository, because the application that we just showed you, all of the UI is actually achieved through Ignite UI for Angular components. Without the components, we wouldn't be able to do an app not in 1 hour, but probably in 1 week. So, that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Now I'm going to look at the Q&A tab to see if there is anything that, needs answering on the spot.
No, it looks like all the questions were just asked in chat, and you jumped on them pretty quick.
Okay. All right. Then we covered them.
Yeah, that was awesome. I didn't know that there was a Discord. Maybe I did know there was a Discord. Yeah, I just never joined it, but I will join it now.
You have the link.
I have the link. All right, guys. Thank y'all for your time again. I always enjoy looking at what app builder's at or where it is today, and it still looks as good as always, guys. It's a good job. I hope to see you guys again soon on another webinar.
Yep. Hope to see you soon too.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great rest of your day.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day too, Q. See you.
See you.
See you.